All right, so we got it in the hole. I'll kind of center it up. You can see on the right side, it needs to kind of be moved over a little bit. We have some space to add some dirt. But you'll notice where while it was in the container, I dug this little bit of soil out here. And because in container grown trees, they're filled up over the flare of the tree. So even in red oaks, oak trees, plant a lot of red oaks. You have to do this till you get all that extra soil, unnecessary soil away from the flare. So recommend doing this. You want the tree high so it drains well, but we'll put the camera down. Then I'm going to start filling it up with topsoil dirt that I bought. Okay, I didn't like the way the tree looked, so I took it out and I added some soil to the hole because it was just too shallow for my liking. They say it's about 3 inches. I like to be higher than that because I feel like the tree settles. And so about 6 inches, 5.5 inches. That's what I like. That's what I really feel comfortable with. All right, I'm gonna fill it up with soil. So what I'm gonna do now is got some soil in here. Of course, I'm gonna put a lot more, but you don't wanna fill it all the way up. You wanna get water around it as you're filling it up. A couple of things I did in the time lapse is I didn't like how the tree was, how it looked. It was leaning to one side. So I backfilled one side of it a little bit more to kind of get it nice and straight. And you can see I've cut my ring out, got this Asian jasmine away from the holly. And the next thing I'm gonna do now is this, and you didn't see me use a sawzall to cut the root ball. You can see how the roots are exposed. Generally in a container grown tree, you're gonna wanna cut that root ball either with a sawzall. You can use a sharpshooter and do this and cut them. But this root ball is completely fine. So the roots will get out and get out away from the root ball and secure themselves to the soil. So hopefully, so you just kind of feel it around, and you'll start seeing the root balls, or you'll start seeing the air bubbles come up, which is what we want. See them? See those air bubbles coming up? And then we'll move over to this side. You see all those? Put some more water. See all those air bubbles? See that? That's what we want. Now let's go to the other side. You don't want no air in there. And just be patient with this. It's very important that you don't have air pockets. We don't want air pockets. That's good. All the way around the tree. A lot of people think you got to tap the dirt down around the tree. I used to think that. I used to do that until my friend taught me the correct way. All right, so it doesn't sound like we have any air bubbles. So what I'll do is turn this water off. Okay, we're back. You can see I've added a lot more soil. And when you plant trees high like this, you need a lot of soil. This is a 35-gallon red oak. So I'm actually adding about 10 bags. I am adding 10 bags of nice topsoil. When I plant 110 gallon, I add about 30 bags. Of course, the ring is a lot bigger, but let's check it out. Let's see if we got any air bubbles. Start soaking it down. This is how you set the tree. And a lot of people think it's kind of like sod, like you want to tap the tree down. Now just backfill it little by little, poco a poco, and soak the soil down. Get those air bubbles out of there. You'll see them come up. On the larger trees, you see a lot more of the air bubbles because the hole is so much larger. This water works its way down. Gets those air pockets out of there. That's what we want. So just be patient. All right, nice and straight. Step back a little bit, you can see how it's in this screen. We have some big hollies out here. Let's see, along with some really nice magnolias. So, you can see she looks really pretty back there. Really nice. Okay, so I've now finished with my 10 bags of nice, rich topsoil. Very nice soil. And you can see, we'll get under here. There's the flare right here. And we have a gradual slope away from the flare. And you want that everywhere. Just a nice gradual slope. That's what I like. There's 100 different ways to plant a tree, but this is probably one of the practices more common right here, is to have a nice slope. So when you buy your topsoil, don't be scared. It only costs $1.50 a bag. I buy it by the bag just because it's easy to move around. Don't be scared to use it. Then just check your grade, kind of bring it down. You don't want it to hold water, you just want it to slowly drain off any excess water. So here we are on this side. So I'm gonna wet it down some more, but I'm gonna put the pine bark mulch down, and you can see here on this side, very nice. And the reason why I'm gonna put the pine bark mulch down before the final saturation is just to help kind of hold that soil where I have it. I don't want it to move around. Done. That was fun. I'll fill in that screen. So we'll talk about the Nellie and the planting that we did a little bit. You can see all the pine bark mulch in here. I saturated it down really nice. I'm sure you know, just keep the mulch off of the flare down there. There's no reason to have it all the way up on the flare. A couple of things about Nellies. We'll go over the planting. Just I think the key is your hole. Make sure your hole's right. Keep the tree high. A lot of people say 3 inches high. I like them higher than that. So I'm probably going to plant closer to double that, because in my experience, the tree settles a little bit, and I just see massive trees when they're planted high. Naturally, they thrive, and so I go higher than the standard. That's my preference. Put in new soil. Remember about the air pockets. Wet it down as you're backfilling it with soil. Make sure the tree's nice and straight, how you want it. Get the air pockets out. If it's a container grown tree, usually I have a sawzall, and I'll cut a sawzall right up. I'll cut a cut all the way, like multiple times in the root ball from top to bottom, just to get those roots cut in half to where they'll stretch out and grow in the soil, and they're just not growing around in a circle. This root ball didn't need that. Usually they will. Really, that's it. And just don't be stingy with your new soil. Bring in some good soil. Put a nice slope on the tree. Keep the tree nice and high. The next thing, after you get your the mulch down for the Nellies, so the growth rate for a Nellie is about 3 foot a year. They really produce when they're in the right environment, and they do prefer somewhat of acidic soil conditions, and pine bark mulch, of course, is a great way to keep your pH balance and your acidic conditions where you want them. So that's the reason for the pine bark mulch. They are a hardy tree. They will grow in multiple different types of soil conditions, but they do prefer more of an acidic environment. The next thing that I will do is soak this with the additive called Super Thrive. I have actually on my website a whole thing about Super Thrive. Arborists swear by it. It's a very, very efficient supplement for trees, for newly established trees and established trees. It's called Super Thrive. The nurseries use Thrive. Really, other than that, I was going to stake this tree. The reason why I'm not is because it's in this screen, even though we're on the lake. As you can see, there is a lot of wind out here. I don't think it's going to get very windy in here. I feel like the tree's completely fine. I'll keep an eye on it, but usually I like to use those wooden arbor stakes. I don't like T-posts because I think they're ugly. I use those wooden arbor stakes. But if you're wanting to plant a Nellie, this is what I recommend. Now, the last thing that I'm going to do is put down a water bag, a flat water bag that goes around in a circle, and then once a week fill that up. That way you keep the root ball nice and moist. And so probably do that for quite a few months, filling it up once a week, keep the root ball nice and moist. And then of course a good plan of attack is to Super Thrive it once a week for the first couple of months. Super Thrive goes a long ways. You can buy it at Lowe's. That'll really help with getting your tree established. Other than that, I think she's a beaut. Really pretty tree. Fun project. I'm fixing to go plant another one. I'm planting 3 more tomorrow. It's really got a nice shape to it. You can see how I was here with the mulch. Nice big ring. So, yep.